Hey, good evening, Joel. What's happening? Good evening, good evening. Good to see if we can get another thing finished. We finished the Terrax last week. So we're on a roll with finishing stuff. I'll go down with that one spent. Rezio, what's happening? Oh, I mean, Wednesday night's usually a night that I do battle reports, isn't it? So this is as good a night as any to stream some games. Stream some Space Marine vehicle transfer kit with all these different things on it. That's an old sheet, isn't it? Does it say the year on it? No. Well, it says that you wet them for 30 seconds. Yeah, right. No transfer ever moved after 30 seconds in my lifetime. Alright. I'm gonna put some transfers on my Gladiator tonight. It's there or thereabouts. I think if I leave it any longer, it'll never be finished. What's happening, though, everybody? Cool. Brayden, what's happening? Campbell, good evening. Yet again, when I don't have a game, you don't either. My wife said to me last week after my kids were being nightmarish all night while I was out of my game last week, she was like, do you think you could take a couple of weeks break? And I was like, yeah, sure, you know what? We're coming into 10th edition anyway, so I've got models that I need to finish, paint, etc. So why not take a couple of weeks break? I think I put number 3 was a number that I used on my Terrax, so Gladiator is going to be number 4. Whirlwind is number 2. I don't know what the hell vehicle is going to be number 1. I'll have to decide what the number 1 vehicle is. Gladiator is going to be number 4, I think. How dare you not watch Mike tonight? Nice to see you, Mike. I mean, you're painting in terrain, Mike. I don't know, actually. I was going to say that's not super exciting. I don't suppose putting transfers on models is very exciting either, right? And what's funny, Mike, is this is literally your model that I'm putting the transfers on. I mean, I put a tiny bit of paint on the Gladiator, but 90% of it you did. Alright, so I know what I'm going to put on the front. The Gladiator is a bit weird in that it's got these half doors on the back. So I don't think you could put a big transfer on the back doors. You put a campaign badge on the back doors. Have I got a vehicle campaign badge? Yeah, I've got one here. This one is the one that I usually use. The sort of shield with a blood drop in it. So I got another video coming out on Friday about 10th edition. I actually just finished getting it all edited just before the stream, so I'll upload it when I finish streaming tonight, and I'll do all the other stuff. But it's about as exciting as watching paint dry. Thanks, Mike. That's how exciting I am. It's exciting as watching paint dry. You can't beat that. No tunes tonight. Good quest. Good point. There is always tunes. However, OBS always resets my settings, so sometimes there's no tunes till I reset my settings. There should be tunes now. How's the volume on them? You alright? Maybe a little bit loud? How about now? I want to definitely put some wing transfers. Two of these big ones. One on each side, I think. Oh, you mean painting terrain is exciting? Yes. I'm I mean, I'm so slow at getting my models painted. I don't need to try and add terrain to the mix, man. I'll never be finished. I did look out my old blade guard. Like, here's a finished blade guard that I did. And then here's like an old one that was unfinished. So, I mean, these blade guard were in a pretty good state. I guess they were like... I don't know if I want to say they're as much as half done. But there was a good amount of paint on them, so I thought to myself, like, I'll come back and I'll finish off these couple of blade guard. I feel like blade guard are going to be good in 9th edition. That's a 3D printed shield, by the way, there on the right. You can sort of tell it's not quite as high quality as the Games Workshop one, but it does have a blood drop on it, which gives it the blade guard sort of a cool custom shield. Obviously, I put a custom head. I'll put a Sanguinary Guard head on this blade guard, actually. So why would you not do that? Because that's cool. Right. So I have a... what are people buying then? Is anyone buying the Lion? Crispy Delicious, good evening. I can't decide about the Lion. I get he's an absolute monster in melee, but like, I don't think he does much else except be monstrous in melee. And I think for like 320 points, I don't know if I need a monster in melee for 320 points. But good evening, Crispy Delicious. Nice to see you. How's things? Alright, so we've got a campaign badge. We've got those 2 transfers. I might get my Forge World sheet out here, actually. See if we've got one of these nice banner ones, like a Sanguinius or something. I think that would look good. Angelus and Carmine Sanguinius. Just sort of see how tall that space is. Measure. How tall is that blade? Would that fit? Just maybe? I think I'm going to do this Angelus one. I think it's more likely to fit in the space that I've got here. Brayden says I don't think he does enough for Blood Angels. Yeah, me too. Where are the Blade Guard veterans with Terminator heads, says Campbell. I mean, that's a good question, Campbell. I did make another Terminator. I'd actually finished making a second set of Terminators. And even after I'd finished, this goes against like all my principles. I always say, like, when a model's finished, I never go back and change things. I actually went back and cut his head off and gave him a Primarchs head, just because it really annoyed Mark or Tony or both of them, maybe. So I have 2 Terminators now that have Primarchs heads. Martin says you're not buying Dante. I'm buying Dante. I think he'll get... His 9th edition rules are probably like some sort of stopgap rules, right? They won't be his 10th edition rules. So much stuff has changed in 10th edition. I agree they should have given him a 3 damage axe. I could have also been okay with giving him just a sweep attack. So like when he fights a -1 damage enemy, he isn't totally useless. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's the rules that they gave Dante. There's nothing we can do about it. Hello, Jim. Good evening. How are you? Pac-Man says everyone else is listening to motivational music when weightlifting. I listen to Blood Angels Commander streams. That's the way, Jim. You superstar. Thank you so much for listening to the stream while you're weightlifting. I was gonna say, can I do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice and be like, I don't even know what Arnold Schwarzenegger say that would be motivational, but it sounds like it would be a cool idea. Alright, that's what... So it gives me the sides, it gives me the numbers, it gives me the front, it gives me the back plate. Might do something else on the back. So I like these little text here. I think it says in Carmine. I think there's space. Do I want to use my last one of these Blood Angels? For this Horus Heresy sheet, some of the cool things like the for example, this Blood Angels text, you don't get very much of it, do you? You know, you get billions of these, I guess, if you were doing like Legions of Horus Heresy, but I don't typically do Legions of Horus Heresy. Like, you get so many of these, and I mean, the gold blood drops are handy. You can see I used a lot of them. Some of these shoulder pads and like these 9s are pretty nice as well, because it's like the 9th Legion. Do you know what? We'll take I'll put a couple of these on my Terrax. I'll put a couple of these on the Gladiator. Oh. And maybe tonight, Mike, I'll start with the right one. Remind me, is it Micro Set or Micro Sol first? Because last time I got it wrong, right? I think you're supposed to start with a Micro Sol and then use a Micro Set after. Doesn't really matter which one you start with, but I'll try and do it right tonight. Okay, anything else I want to use? I also don't want to go too OTT. I wonder if we could get one of these winged, because I've never really used one of these Wings of Sanguinius things here. I think one of them would fit on this side panel here, like the small one. I mean, it might. I mean, I've seen people use them on like super heavy tanks. Do you know what? We'll try it. We'll try and put this guy on there. You might need to go at a weird angle, but I don't really know where. I don't know where I'm going to use the giant ones. We'll try this one on the side paneling. My Gladiator Reaper is being blessed by the Great Angel. I wish they did a sheet like that for 40k. I mean, just buy the 30k sheet, man. I mean, it's decent enough. It'll make your army pretty unique, because I don't think a lot of people buy them. When I bought this, it was like 25 bucks. It's probably more expensive now. Mass Bro Effects as Dante's data sheet was let down. Yeah, I mean, it was, but I really think it's stopgap rules. I really think that they're not. I think the 10th edition rules will be totally different. Or I hope the 10th edition rules will be totally different. Maybe a bit of both. Now I'm going to take one of these smaller ones for the back doors as well. They're meant to be on the sides of Land Raiders and Spartans. Well, I mean, I don't have any painted Land Raiders. I don't know when. Well, let me see. Would it fit? I mean, it's going to be close. Yeah, maybe this is just too big for this. I mean, I don't mind cutting a bit of one of the wings off if the rest of it would fit pretty nicely. Maybe we got to keep it for a Land Raider or a Spartan. Maybe that is the best idea. Do you think we'll get special true scale Blood Angels Terminators? I think we'll get an upgrade sprue. I think I actually talk about, like, I've got a tactics video coming out on Friday, and I talk a little bit about Terminators in it, because obviously the Terminator rule. You just scared the crap out of me, Dirty Wizard. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Dirty_Wizard donated £5 via super chat. Guys, don't forget to use BA Commander's link for your Dante pre-orders this Saturday. Great discount and support for the channel. I'll be doing the same.
Dude, you're a superstar. Thank you so much for the fly. That scared the shit out of me. I wasn't expecting that. I've lost topic. Where was I? I think we'll get an upgrade sprue for the Terminators, which is I'm like 50-50 on if that's a good thing, right? Because the Primarchs upgrade sprue that we get at the moment, you know, the one for like, I think it's got a bolt pistol, it's got a chain sword, it doesn't have a whole lot in it. Like, it's got a couple of shoulder pads. You guys know the one I'm talking about, right? The Primarchs upgrade sprue is not that great for Blood Angels. Like, I think if you want, like I think I've been saying for a while, if you want Blood Angel specific parts, you're probably better off buying like a Death Company box, like a Firstborn Death Company box, or a Firstborn Sanguinary Guard box, because you'll get better custom parts in those boxes than you will in the upgrade sprue. And I guess, if you don't need any more Sanguinary Guard, well, it's not the end of the world. You can just convert those models into something else, like Veterans or something. Can we still pre-order through the affiliate link and get the reduced price? 100%, yeah. If you pre-order through the affiliate link, the price will still be reduced. If you click on the affiliate link, even like 24 hours in advance, I think it puts a cookie on your machine that remembers it. So yeah, you'll get the reduced price, 100%. Daryl. The Sternguard one is great. Is there a Blood Angel specific Sternguard squad? Is there? I know for like when they first put out, like there used to be like a Blood Angels Aggressor squad. There used to be a Blood Angels Insector squad, I think, like, and they had those upgrade kits in them, and then those upgrade kits those upgrade things went the way of the dinosaur, and like they just don't exist anymore. So yeah, it's if they do like a Blood Angels Terminator upgrade sprue, like what can you really expect? Like a couple of shoulder pads, maybe like you know, the little like chest armor thing that the Terminators have, but I forget what you call that. Actually drawing a complete blank. It's not a storm shield. It's like a little shield that sits on like their forward shoulder. What is that called again? I just knocked a transfer onto the floor when I was doing that. I think so. God damn it! There's always one that manages to escape, isn't there? So like, if they do a Terminator upgrade sprue, I don't have high hopes for it. Based on the fact that like we've had that Primarchs upgrade sprue for a few years and it's not very good, and there's no real sign of getting another one. So like, based on that, my thought is, if you really want custom looking Terminators, you need to buy the Blood Angels Assault Terminators or the Crimson Paladins soonish. Because I imagine when they release these new Terminators, the Blood Angels Terminator set is going to be it's going to disappear from the shop probably. How are the entries for the painting competition looking like? I actually haven't checked. It's on another email address, so it doesn't like so I don't lose any of the entries on my regular email address. I know that some people have put YouTube comments in saying they've submitted their entries, so I assume that there's a bunch in there. I think last year was it as many as 100 entries last year? I don't remember precisely, but there was a lot of entries. I bought a couple of the Blood Angels Terminator kits a few years back. I was in like 50-50 if I buy, like I was in two minds if I buy a new one or a new if I buy another set of the Blood Angels one. I have like 8 with Thunderhammer and like 7 with Lightning Claws, and I'm sort of thinking to myself, surely that's enough. I'd never run a Blood Angels army where I need more than 15 close combat Terminators, would I? The tilt shield, is that what it's called? Yes. What does it actually do? Is there anything about the lore in the tilt shield? It will be $200 on eBay, says Dirty Wizard, if you don't order it quick. It probably will be overcosted on eBay, because I think that those Blood Angels dice will be crazy overcosted. If you go into eBay right now and try and buy like the old sets of Blood Angels dice that were released at the beginning of 9th edition, they're like $50 for 10 dice. Or $50 UK for 10 dice, so that's probably like 75, 80 US dollars for 10 dice. So it really is just supply and demand. A lot of people will want those dice, they'll sell out pretty quickly, and then they will be on eBay for crazy money. So if you do want the Sangre Guard dice, don't wait, because you'll not be able to pick them up. For some reason the dice they're like a premium. They just go so high so quickly. You don't think Blood Angels Terminators will go anywhere, says James? I mean, it's hard to say. I guess it depends on if they do the Close Combat Terminator Squad at the same time. But I think as soon as they do the Close Combat Terminator Squad, James, those other sets, their days will be numbered. All I can say is I think if you really want to ever have a squad of the Blood Angels Close Combat Terminators, it'd probably be better to get a squad earlier rather than later. And let's face it, let's say you did buy a squad and you sat on them because you weren't ready to make them. They're not gonna sell for less than you paid for them on eBay, because there's gonna be some Blood Angels fanatic like me 6 years down the line goes, shit, I never got those Blood Angels Terminator squads, I really wanted one. Oh, they're on eBay for 2 times, 3 times value? I mean, you'll get your money back 100%. Blood Angels tactical squads are 100 to 200 in eBay. There you go. There's proof. The proof is in the pudding. I'm actually just going to put this guy on his base because he's not on his base at the moment, so he's moving around a little bit while I'm going to be putting transfers on him and don't really want him moving around. I like normal dice. Am I weird? I mean, we know you're weird, Mike, but yes. Why do you not like the Blood Angels dice? What's wrong with them? I thought the Blood Angels dice are awesome. I thought the gold might look pretty cool on the stream as well. I mean, it might not, but I'm hoping it does, I guess. So I'm starting with the Micro Saw, so I think I've got this round the right way this week. I need my tweezers, 1 second. Where the fuck are they? Here. Whew. Alright. It felt good. I varnished the Terrax though this week, so the Terrax is completely done, varnished and everything. Nothing to worry about there now. So when I finish this guy, this will be my 3rd unit of the year finished. Which is good. God damn it, that 4 tweezers just took a bit. Alright, I'm gonna have to paint over that, that's fine. Rip the transfer a little bit. I can live with that. Can I? Yeah, I mean, I'll paint over it a tiny bit, it's fine. Sometimes I like to paint a little bit of Averland Sunset over these yellow transfers anyway, because they can be quite translucent, and also the yellow doesn't really match any of the other yellows that I do, so... Come on, move you little. Way too much liquid. They either skate all over the place or they just don't move, huh? There we go, now it's going to skate all over the place. There. You can get it a little bit more center. It's not happening just now, is it? Alright, 1 second, I'll catch up with the chat. The tweezers usually move them pretty easily, but they do have a tendency to rip them. I'm painting over this one as well. fine. Okay. Tilt shields are used in medieval Europe jousting competitions to help deflect the joust away from the body upon contact. So why the hell have they got them in the 41st millennium? They didn't keep them on they didn't keep them there for 39,000 years, did they? There's not many jousts in the 41st millennium, last time I checked. Microset first. Okay. You shouldn't need microsol on a flat panel. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the greatest hobbyist, right? So I think these big ones should fit here just about okay. But I'll do some on a flat panel anyway. I just always used it. Got my damn It's funny, Highland Phoenix went on at me for months to start running a Gladiator Reaper, and now it's in every single one of my lists. After me feeling like for the longest time I was like, I'm not running a Gladiator Reaper, screw that. I do hope that we get to. I do hope that like there's merit to the double Bowel Predator build in 10th edition, because like Arcs of Omen has been the first time in like the whole of 9th edition that you could kind of run a Bowel Predator, right? Like it was garbage for the first, I don't know, 2.5 years of 9th edition. So I'm really hopeful that the Bowel Predator is like an option. It's like a real option, like a competitive option for 10th edition. I don't mind if the Reaper's a competitive option as well, but I'd love the Bowel Predator to be one too. If you're a second, would you run it? I don't know. Too many points, I think, and also kind of one-dimensional. So like, you know, a Reaper will kill infantry, but won't kill much else. So if you run 2 Reapers, you got a shitload of infantry killing, but you don't kill much else. So I think that's probably why I would only run 1 Reaper, whereas like with the Bowel Predator, I feel like you're probably okay to run 2 because you can kill other stuff with Bowel Predators, because they've got some 2 damage weapons, and they're much cheaper, so it's not as problematic. There's the artist type and the technical type. I'm definitely an artistry type, but so bad I die of hunger. I don't know what type of hobbyist I am, because when I joined the hobby many years ago, all I did was play the game, right? Like I never did any, like I was that guy that fielded all the armies of Grey, and then one day I decided to take my painting a little bit more seriously and try and get good at, I was going to say try and get good at it. I don't think I'm good. But at least take it a bit more seriously and at least make my army look nice, I guess. I want to balance that a bit better. Can I balance it with this? I mean, when I go to like Warhammer World, or like if I went to Warhammer Fest a couple of years ago and I see like the caliber of the painting at those sort of events, I just sort of like die on the inside, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not even on the, if it was a football game, I'm not even on the reserve bench, I'm not even in the second team, I'm not even in the third team, I'm just so far behind some of the people that like submit entries to like Golden Demon and you know, like at one of the events that I was at, someone was really nice to me and said to me like, hey, you should have your army in the best painted. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to win best painted. And they were like, your stuff's really nice. I was like, okay, like, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. But I don't personally think I'm going to win best painted, so I didn't bother entering, right? But people are generally nice in this hobby. That is one of the great things about the hobby, right? A triple Reaper and Eradicators, get out here, Campbell. If you run triple Reaper and win a tournament, tell you what, you run triple Reaper, win a tournament, Campbell, and then I will run triple Reaper until I win a tournament. There, challenge issued, challenge accepted. Jason, good evening, how are you? Dirty Wizard is getting a 3D printer for his birthday. I'm going to start making 3D decals. Can anyone recommend a good one to buy for a beginner? I don't know off the top of my head, Dirty Wizard, but I can ask Andrew, because Andrew does a lot of 3D printing, and one of my Contemptors, actually, do you know what we could do? We could do a Contemptor off. I could pull out my two Contemptors and put them side by side, and you could guess which one's 3D printed. I mean, I'd have to wait a minute here anyway for the decals to get wet. But Andrew did go through, like, he bought one 3D printer and then he got a better one afterwards. So he's on his, like, second or third 3D printer, so... But I don't know much about 3D printing. When I've needed stuff, I've asked Andrew to do it for me. I think it was like, do you remember when everybody was running Relic Contemptors with two Volkite cannons, and they were out of stock forever? That's when I was like, I really want to go to a tournament and I want to run two Relic Contemptors, so I need another one. How do I get another one? And Andrew was like, well, if you buy the 3D model from the website, you know, the printable asset or whatever it is, I will print you it for free. I was like, alright, sure, you allow me to do that. So I might actually have a 3D model of a Relic Contemptor that you can just print, right? That's how that works. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not really familiar. Daniel says he thinks you're good, reminds me of classic paint jobs for the 90s. Yeah, I mean, that's what I grew up with Warhammer doing, Daniel, I guess. Like, Warhammer to me was the early 90s, second edition. So if my stuff looks like that, then that's where I take inspiration from. I got, at one point, all my bases were Goblin Green, and I moved away from that to to Armageddon Dust, and I much rather prefer Armageddon Dust than Goblin Green bases. But at one point, like, all the guys that I had were on Goblin Green bases, and I redid, like, I just painted over a bunch of Goblin Green bases, because I was like, I felt like that was making my army feel quite dated. It would have to be a GD. Well, if you win an RTT with 3, here's the thing: whatever event type you win, that's what I'll try and win with. Well, I would have to buy 2 more Reapers and paint them, so I don't know if I love that idea, but I could do it, I suppose. Who knows what's going to be good in 10th? I think balanced armies are going to excel in 10th. I really do. I think there will be. I think the best lists in 10th might have a good balance between infantry and shooting. And I think you're probably going to want a little bit of armor in 10th edition. The modern Blood Angel's colour is much more maroon, I think, than... Like, if you look at Mephiston Red and where it is, like, it's much more darker, it's much more... I guess it's much more grim dark. It was a lot more vibrant in 2nd edition, which I think you either love or you don't love. I think the people that grew up with 2nd edition love it. The people that didn't probably think it looks a bit cheesy. So, if my stuff looks a little bit too bright too and a little bit cheesy, then I'm sorry, I guess that's what I grew up with, so that's what I like. I think you're going to see character stacking where your main infantry blob probably have a lieutenant and an apothecary added to it. I guess the question will be how many you can take though. Because if characters are only buffing like one unit, then you don't want, you can't afford to have every unit in your army buffed by a character. You'll eat up all your points on characters, right? I don't think we'll see lists with more than like 4 characters in 10th edition. I mean, I could be wrong. I guess we could get to a position where lots of people are stacking characters because it's a good tactic. I don't think it's going to be Hero Hammer. I think squads are still going to provide most of the value, so you're going to want squads with some characters. Who knows? Too many unknowns at the moment, and that's why like every week at the moment on the channel, pretty much every Friday I'm covering 10th edition stuff. I think we're going to do a live episode over in the 3 Grots next week covering 10th edition, and I'm going to just keep covering 10th edition as much as possible so we know as much as GW is a bit cagey about painting recipes. Heavy Metal, Base Coat, Blood Angels 50-50, Mephiston and Evil Sun, do they? I didn't know that. I thought GW painted them Mephiston red, then highlighted them with Evil Sun, and then highlighted them a step further with like Wild Rider red. Evening, Andrew. How you doing? He's just started painting his own Gladiator, got it built so that I could use it as an impulsor. It's such a good kit. I mean, the Gladiator tanks are pretty cool, aren't they? I mean, I like all the new Primarchs kits. I just don't know if I necessarily have been in love with the rules that much. But you gotta remember, when Gladiators came out, a Gladiator Reaper was about 200 points. They've like shifted it. The goalposts for a Gladiator Reaper have shifted massively. You know, they've shifted from like the Reaper at 200 points down to the Reaper at like 150 points with all the war gear is free. Which is interesting that it took them basically the whole of 9th edition to get there. So what you're basically telling me, for most of 9th edition, the Reaper was like hot garbage. Or maybe not garbage, but like drastically overcosted, I guess. Hey Mongo! Finishing 6 aggressors tonight, nice! What did you go with? Did you go with the bolter aggressors? I would like to see a return of the bolter aggressors. I ran them so many times in 8th edition and then they kind of fell out of form. Big factor for me in 9th edition. I really wonder if Gravis armor is going to get an invulnerable save added to it. Because Terminator armor has an invulnerable save now, right? And Terminators are more chunky, I guess, than regular Marines, while Gravis are also quite a bit more chunky. Like, if Terminator, like, you gotta remember, default Terminators, not Storm Shield Terminators, just default Terminators now. Have I got a Discord? Yeah, 100%. There should be. If you type !Discord in chat, it'll spit out a link for joining the Discord, Lamented Son. !Discord with a capital D. We've got like 3,000 members in the Discord or something. We got like 3,000 members on the Facebook page now as well. The Facebook group, sorry. I'm trying to get the Facebook page to have more members, but do you have a Baal Prender? I don't have a Baal transfer. I must have already used the Baal ones, unfortunately. That would have been fitting, Island Phoenix. I have a Blood Angels one that I was going to put on this little panel here. But yeah, that would have been so fitting now that you mention it. How annoying. But no, I don't have it. You think they'll want to keep well, I don't know if they'll want to keep invulnerables for Terminators. The thing that's got me is that regular Terminators now have 4-up invuln. Like, so what do Storm Shield Terminators get? If regular Terminators have a 4-up invuln, what's a Storm Shield Terminator save? I heard a rumour that Storm Shields might be +1 toughness. I don't know if that's true. That was one of the rumours that I heard. There's been a lot of rumours floating around, right? Unexpected hangout. Well, Robert, good evening. I'm going to be hanging out, I think, next Wednesday, because my wife wanted me to take a few weeks break from battle reports because my kids are being difficult of an evening. And yeah, so we'll probably be doing a hangout next Wednesday as well, and we'll probably end up playing Colin the week after that or something. Colin's desperate to get revenge. I think I beat him by 1 point, right? And I think he forgot a rule, or one of the rule interactions that we did was slightly wrong, so I think he should have had a couple more points. So like, he was messaging me like, when are we playing? And I was like, I need to take a couple of weeks break because my wife's wanting more help with the kids, Colin, but we'll play soon. He was like, okay, good. Then he messaged me back and was like, what am I going to watch tonight? Like, okay, Colin. I didn't know he watched the streams when he's not playing so passionately, but apparently he does. Come on, move, you little... Move. There we go. Probably swear more when I'm doing transfers. Like when we're painting, I don't like, my painting is pretty good. I'm not worried about making mistakes. But I'm doing transfers and they just sit slightly a couple of degrees off center or a couple of degrees squint. I'm just like, come on, move. What are you doing, transfer? Probably no one will notice that they're a couple of degrees squint except me, but if it annoys me, it annoys me, right? Pretty straight. Good evening, Trivial Pursuit, how are you? Don't forget to, regular Terminators with no Storm Shields are getting a 4-up invuln. Which confused me, Highland. I mean, does that change how people feel about Terminators? Like, for me, it's like, Storm Shield will be +1 toughness, +1 save. Yeah, so, where did you hear that? Maybe that's the rumour I heard. Storm Shield's +1 toughness, +1 save. Now when I put this little tiny text on my Terrax, it was squint, and I tried a bunch of times to straighten it up and I just couldn't get it to go straight. So let's see if this one will go straight. This is this Forge World transfer. And while it is nice, apparently it's very difficult to get it to move and be straight. That looks better though. Ish. Come on, move. One side will go up and the other side will go down. Get some liquid out. That's good, look at that. What angels. I mean, I guess you could write that on with a pen or something, but it works. Almost there, getting there. Need a little bit of painting on the actual turret here once I get these last couple of transfers on then. In lower Terminator armor is made from ceramite plasteel, and adamantium gravis is just a thicker ceramite and plasteel plates. So technically it probably should get an invulnerable save based on what Dirty Wizard is saying. The Terminators do have a Crux Terminatus on them, which apparently contains a fragment of the Emperor's armor, and they used to say that that fragment on the Emperor's armor was what gave them the invulnerable save, right? Whether or not that is still accurate, I mean, I don't think they've changed the lore, so I guess that might be accurate still. Dirty Wizard finished the book. The Death and the End and the Death Today was a good Dirty Wizard. I actually bought it on Audible earlier this week, but I'm so far behind on my Audible books at the moment, like to a tune of like 5 books in that volume. I listen to audiobooks when I walk to work. I've just sort of not done it as often since I broke my arm, I guess. But I can get back into it, I just haven't. Did the End of the Death include Sanguinius' death then? I mean, that's a huge spoiler for anyone that doesn't know. I assume that that's the death they're talking about, and I'm assuming it happens at the end of the book, right? Or is the End of the Death not part 1? Is there not 2 parts to the book? Toughness 5, no involvement for gravity. Well, Terminators are Toughness 5 now. So Terminators have gone from Toughness 4 to Toughness 5, and regular Terminators have gone from a 5 up invuln to a 4 up invuln. So Terminators have had a fairly substantial damage boost, fairly substantial survivability boost, right? Like an extra toughness, an extra point on their invuln, and then I guess the other thing we have to consider is that they did say that all the weapons that you're up against have less AP now in 10th edition. So for example, the example we saw was like an assault cannon has lost a point of AP, a power fist has lost a point of AP, a power sword, or power weapon as they called it, has lost a point of AP. So like loads of weapons have lost AP. So if like Terminators, if everything's lost a bunch of AP, Terminators have a bit more toughness and more save, then Terminators are a huge winner here. Like all the way through this edition, people almost sometimes made a little bit of fun of you if you took Terminators with Blood Angels. They'd be like, why are you taking Terminators? They're slow and they're shit and they're not that good. Well, it seems like the Bolter Terminators have got a lot better. And potentially, I guess, when we see the stats on Storm Shield Terminators, or melee combat Terminators, whatever you want to call them, they might have got a lot better too. You would prefer if Terminators had flexible loadouts? I'm not sure how flexible they're going to be going with loadouts. That's the thing though, right? Like, if anything, they're trying to curb some of the loadouts so that it's easier for them to balance stuff, I think. I need to do a little bit of painting on the turret. Is the fragment anything like cutting up a famous painting? I mean, I guess it is, right? Like, it's a fragment of his armor, like it's a tiny little piece of his armor, and for some reason that's why they got an invulnerable save, or at least that was what it used to say in the lore. Yeah, I mean, I ran Terminators literally this entire edition, Highlight Phoenix. You guys know that I prefer durable units, and if I'm going to tournaments, I like having durable units. I've run Blade Guard loads this edition. I ran Terminators, both melee ones and shooting ones, all the way through this edition. I've run Centurions, I've run Aggressors. So my lists always tended to have Terminators. So I think going forward, there'll definitely be scope for like having a unit of Terminators in your Blood Angels list, potentially for like strategic reserve, or for like distraction, I guess, right? Who's pre-ordering the Dante or the Lion? Robert says he's going to grab the Lion. I was 50-50 about getting the Lion, Robert. He's a monster in like. He basically is going to do 10 attacks, hitting 97% of the time, and then he's going to do 10 wounds, wounding either, if it's toughness 5 or less, it's going to be wounding 97% of the time, on top of hitting 97% of the time. If you're toughness 5 to 9, then it's going to be 77% chance to wound. So realistically, most of the time, I suppose, when the lion makes a charge or he's in combat, and remember he fights first in combat, he's gonna inflict approximately something like it'll be like 7.5 on average. Strength 10, -4, or I think it's -5 or -6. -5 if you're not an Assault Doctrine, -6 if you are an Assault Doctrine. 4 damage hits. So he is an absolute monster in terms of like, I don't know, like imagine you were hitting like a Telemon Heavy Dreadnought. So the Telemon needs to take 7.5 saves at 4 damage. What's a Telemon going to save on? A 4-up? So on average you would fail 3.75 saves. So like, he's not killing a Telemon in one round of combat, but he's putting it on lower bracket. And if you spike even a little bit, and it's going to be super easy to spike because your wounding and hit rolls are just going to be so reliable. Like, it's going to be very, you know, like you can easily roll 10 dice and not roll any ones. Like, that's a thing that can happen. So if you spike even a little bit on your wounds or your hits, it's going to be brutal. But I mean, he doesn't bring anything else really beyond that. Like, he's a monster in combat, but that's it. I mean, he brings a small buff if you're Dark Angels, but it's not that great, I feel like. I think if you're wanting to run a Primarch with Blood Angels, I would still do what I'm doing and run Guilliman. I think it's better for Blood Angels. But the line is cool. If you're running Dark Angels, I'm sure he is going to be useful. He's just more of a melee monster than like a buff paint character, which Guilliman is. But then my question comes to you is like, is Guilliman a problem in combat? Because like, I ran Guilliman to GT recently, right? And like in the GT, Guilliman killed the Silent King in one round of combat, right? Like from full health. The Silent King had 16 wounds. The Silent King actually went first because he's got that fight last bullshit. So Guilliman, the Silent King put all his attacks into Guilliman. Because Guilliman has a 3-up save, I only failed 1 and took 1 damage. I actually failed 1 from like his really shitty staff, because he gets like a few attacks at really high damage, and then he gets a boatload of attacks at like 1 or 2 damage. I failed 1 of the 1 damage attacks. So Guilliman took 1 wound from the Silent King, and then the Emperor's Sword did, I think, it did 4 mortals plus. So it would have been 4 mortals plus it did 12 damage. So I guess he had 4 failed saves from whatever, from like Guilliman's like 7 attacks. Yeah, because it was later in the game. Yeah, it didn't really matter, I suppose, because I always get +1 attack from Shock Assault, don't I? So like, if Guilliman can kill the Silent King in 1 turn and offer up a ton of buffs and offer up a ton of survivability, like, he's definitely more survivable than the Lion due to his 3-up invuln. Yes, the Lion has an edge case that he can deny a psychic power, but it's pretty edge case. So yeah, for me, like, I want more Blade Guard veterans. I actually have some Blade Guard veterans on my painting table here. I want to get more Blade Guard veterans. I'd like to have at least 12 done. So I was thinking like, oh, I could get the Lion because he could be good and could be useful, and more Blade Guard veterans. And he's actually the cost of him's pretty good, right? He's only $65, including 3 Blade Guard veterans, which to me seems pretty decent. But I was expecting him to be honestly close to 80. I thought that's where they would land on him, like $80. Roboto Gillinaut, the legend. Yeah, I know, I need to paint Roboto Gillinaut, don't I? He doesn't have enough paint on him, that's for sure. I'm working on it. I just wanted to... I had some units like this, like the Baal... I want to call it the Baal Predator, the Gladiator Reaper. The Baal Reaper was like 90%, my Terrax was 90%. I wanted to just get them finished so I could put them to bed. Jason says, anyone getting the Sangria Guard dice? I think I'm getting them. I mean, I'm going to use them on the stream. I think they would be good for contrast on the stream. Like, they'll be... our dice tray on the stream is kind of grey, so I hope the gold and red will stand out, Jason. So I'm definitely getting at least one set, possibly two. They are expensive for just dice, right? I think in Canada they're like $45 for the dice, which is kind of getting a bit crazy. Jimmy says he thinks they'll nerf Melta. I don't think they'll need to nerf Melta, Jimmy, because it technically makes the lion $30. Yeah, it does, which is really cheap, really, James. That's like Gilliman's $37.50, so technically that makes the lion very competitively costed. Well, even less, because you're getting 2 fine art prints with the lion as well, which is cool. I sometimes have fine art prints behind me. I never actually framed any of them, but I might it someday. But yeah, so the lion's very competitively costed. I mean, I guess Dante is on a 60mm base. Primarchs characters have been sneaking up in price for a while now, so Dante being, like, here in the UK, $27, there's nothing we can do about it. That's kind of standard. I'm definitely going to buy Dante. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that his 10th edition rules are quite a bit different than his 9th edition rules, because I'm going to do a video next week on Dante, once I've had a little bit of time to think about it. I don't hate it as much as I did when it was originally announced. Still not in love with it, but I don't hate it as much. So once I've had a little bit of time to think about it, I will definitely, you know, I'll do a video on it and I'll talk about it. I think potentially the big thing for me with Dante is he at least now has access to transhuman. And transhuman will help him to a certain degree, I think. But he doesn't give, like, he only gives 1 CP, which I think he should give more. Mercenary says his rules are being replaced in 2-3 months. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I am at with it. Hopefully they spent a lot more time doing his 10th edition rules than they did doing his 9th edition rules. For me, the Perdition pistol is great that it's back, and it's great as D6+2, and it's great it got more range, but the drawing a line is a complete gimmick, because I play against Mortarion plenty times. And you go through whole games with Mortarion, who arguably moves just as fast as the Blood Angel's character, for example. And there's very few times that he actually gets any value out of that draw a line and hit the target. Like, maybe once per game you'll get some value out of it. But the thing is, if your opponent knows that you've got that, they're just not going to line their models up for you. Like, it's almost like, I don't know. I don't think there's almost any value in drawing a line with a 9-inch pistol. Like, most of the time Dante's going to need to be as close as he can to the enemy you want to charge, because that's how the combat of this game works, is you don't want to give yourself long charges, right? So you're going to be as close as you can to the model that you want to charge. So yeah, it's great, you're going to get always going to get the +2 damage, but I'd say 90% of the time you're not going to be able to hit anything with the beam, because Mortarion doesn't hit anything with his beam 90% of the time, and his beam is like 12 inches, right? Mortarion's pistol, I think, has definitely got a longer range than Dante's pistol. James says, I'm actually going to hold off on Dante. I want to see what units he can actually join in 10th. I imagine that he can join Sangre Guard. It would be madness if he cannot. So I don't think you want to hold off and then they say, oh, Dante can do this or that, and then you're like, oh shit, I held off, because he's gonna be good. It's not like he was bad in 9th. Like a lot of people ran him. A lot of people did okay with him in events. A bunch of people won events with him, so it's not like he was bad in 9th. I didn't like him. I'm just one player, right? Jim coming in with 5 gifted subs. Jim, you're a legend. Thank you so much. Do always appreciate it, especially when I'm not streaming a live game. Because sometimes I know you guys like to watch your live games on Wednesday nights. I mean, I like doing the live games. They're always a laugh, right? We try and make them fun. We try and learn something. So when I'm not doing a live game, getting some gifted subs just feels awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Really do. If he joins the Sangre Guard, his beam gun can hit them as well, right? No. The ruling, it's a bit weird, the text on it. It actually said, like, you draw a line from, like, his unit or the hull. So, like, technically they're maybe expecting Dante could be in a transport. I don't know what transport he could be in that he can shoot out of, though. Because that was the thing that confused me. It was like the only transport that Space Marines have that they can... We don't have any transports we can shoot out of, sorry. What am I talking about? Like, maybe we can shoot out of like a... I was going to say like a bunker or something? But there's no transport. I was thinking you could shoot out of an impulsor. You can't. That was me getting confused. I was thinking the only transport we've got we can shoot out of is an impulsor because it's open topped. But no, even impulsors you can't shoot out of. They're not open topped. They just look open topped. And they have that disembarkation rule. It's for the Dante fund, the gifted subs. Jim, thank you so much. Yes, I mean, I'm 100% buying Dante. We'll put the gifted subs towards Dante. Thank you so much. I want to do a painting video on Dante as well, so I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I know GW did a painting video on Dante today. I mean, I don't know if you saw it or if anyone cares about it, but I want to do my own Dante painting video. Mine'll be a battle ready scheme. Like all my schemes, they'll be battle ready. But mine'll look good for being battle ready, I guess. It's the same wording as one of the Votan vehicles. It's a copy and paste error, says Serenade. Well, you're probably right, dude. That's why I haven't taken Arcs of Omen all that seriously as a season, right? Because, like, it did feel like it was a half-baked season. Like, there was just some rules that never quite, you know... I can't remember... Yeah, it was like, you know... I think the thing that maybe hit it on the head was, like, Inceptors. It was like, oh, Inceptors get free war gear. But then, like, instantly they found out everybody was going, like, mad amounts of Inceptors. They're like, roll it back, Inceptors don't get free war gear. And they went from Inceptors being possibly, like, a really fun unit that loads of people would play to a point where, like, nobody runs Inceptors again, right? So, like, Inceptors were in a bad place. The Inceptors are not a 60-point, like, Inceptors are 10 points... They're 10 points... No. Sorry, they're the same points as a land speeder. So a land speeder with a multi-melta on it, which is toughness 6 wounds? Or is it toughness 6, 8 wounds? 6 or 8 wounds, one of the two. It's literally 1 more toughness and 3 more wounds, and a multi-melta is arguably more reliable than the plasma. and it's the same points. So like Inceptors were not in a good place at 60 points per model, and that was with Armor of Contempt. Like, I don't think some people were running Inceptors at 60 points a model in Armor of Contempt, but not that many. So Inceptors needed something, and then that was the thing. Like, every single unit in the Marine Codex has to pay, like, what is it, like 10, 15, 20 points for a multi-melta? Except Sternguard. In the Sternguard squad, the multi-melta is free. So it was like, oh, did they just forget that Sternguard can have multi-meltas? And well, what did I do to the GT I went to? I ran some Sternguard with free multi-meltas, because, like, if that's the rule, why would you not, right? Like, it's really good. Free multi-meltas on the Sternguard. Yeah, but I mean, we'll continue. Morgo says it's copy and paste error from the Votan as well. Alright, cool, because I was wondering what the hell they were doing there. I was like, Dante can't be in a vehicle he can shoot out of, as far as I know. So I think what we'll do, or what I am planning on doing, or what I am already doing, I guess, is for the next, every week they're putting out like 2 or 3 news articles about 10th edition. They've done that now for basically a month almost. I'm going to take all those news articles, I'm going to correlate them, I'm going to make my slides like I always do, and then I'm going to talk about them, and we're going to figure out exactly. So we're going to hit the ball, we're going to, what is it they say? We're going to hit the ground running for 10th edition. So if you guys watch my weekly videos, you'll know everything, you'll know what to expect, and like I said, we will literally hit the ground running. That's the plan. If someone is desperate to get like a tactics video for 9th edition, like I'll probably still review Dante and do a bunch of stuff about him, because obviously he got new rules and we could talk about that. I will also be doing like a good amount of focus on 10th edition, because it's going to be coming, and it's going to be here quicker than you realize. Like, what are we, the middle of April? I think 10th is going to be June. I really do think it's going to be June, and I think it's going to be earlier in June rather than late June, and at that point we're literally just talking 6 weeks before we get 10th edition, maybe worst case 10 weeks or something. So as they keep releasing stuff, I'll keep breaking it down every Friday. It means that my videos on Fridays will maybe be a bit longer, because we're going to cover like multiple subjects. I know this video, this one from this week was like my longest for a while. It's going to be like 40 minutes. But hey, I mean, I'll cover everything so we know exactly what's good going into the new edition, right? I think that the Primarchs / Firstborn conflict, or whatever you want to call it, the rules dynamic between the two that has been upsetting people, or however you want to put it, I think it's going to be a lot less in the new edition. I think that for multiple reasons. One of the reasons I think that as well, are we happy with Dante's datasheet? He's overcosted, says Quicks. I think he's overcosted at 175 points. If you compare him to Helbreck, or if you compare him to Calgar, or you compare him to Azrael, I do tend to think he's 10-15 points overcosted. He's enough points to make me think, well, I'll just keep running my Primarchs captain on a bike. That's where I stand. That's not really where I wanted to land. I wanted to land on the fence of like, hey, the new Dante is awesome, and I'm going to run him in every game. Which isn't where it's landed. There's not much we can do about that, other than see what happens when he gets his 10th edition version of the rules. But right now, based on the Blood Angels win rates as well, because we should factor the fact in that Blood Angels are doing really quite badly at the moment. We're like the bottom of the pack, and there's potentially a balanced data slate like in the next week or so, right? Because it's been like 3 months since the last one. So if we factor in the fact that like we're really not doing that hot, there could be very good argument for Dante being slightly overcosted. I think the possible issue is because Blood Angels very recently won like LVO, Games Workshop are worried that Blood Angels are in a very in a good spot or something. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, sorry. The reason that I think the Firstborn in Primarchs conflict might be less is that stratagem that they released for it's like a Gladiatus Task Force stratagem, and it's called Armor of Contempt. If anyone's not seen it, it's a 1 CP strat that you can use on any unit, any Adeptus Astartes unit, not just Primaris, not just Firstborn, and also not just infantry. You can use it on anything. So you could use it on a tank, you could use it on a dreadnought, you could use it on an infantry unit, you can use it on anything. Characters, anything, literally anything. 1 CP, and it reduces either in the shooting phase or the fight phase. It just reduces enemy AP by 1, right? We already know AP is down across the board. They've said that, so AP is going to be less. So let's say you were going to get shot by like a bunch of power fists. Your Terminators are under attack by, I don't know, World Eaters, and they've got shitloads of power fists. Well, for 1 CP, you could basically say, right, my whole squad are going to... Those power fists are only going to be minus 1 AP to me. So I'll just save all your power fists on 3s, for example, with my Terminators. Or look at Sangry Guard. So your power fists are going to be... So power fists are now... They don't have like minus 1 built into their profile anymore, right? So like imagine if a power fist is no longer hitting on a 3, it's hitting on a 4. Like your weapon skill is actually 4+ if you're using a power fist, for example. If your weapon skill is 4+, and then they're minus 1 to hit the Sangry Guard, and then you can go, okay, I'll just improve the AP of all these Sangry Guard or reduce the AP into the Sangry Guard by 1. So all of a sudden, enemy are only hitting your Sangry Guard with 5s on the power fists, and you're saving on 3s. That sounds so much more attractive than where we are right now, where it's like the minus 1 to hit from the Sangry Guard would be lost because it's a power fist as it is, and it already like negates the minus 1 to hit because it already is minus 1 to hit, right? And then against Sangry Guard and the power fists right now, you'd save on 5s. So the fact that stratagem doesn't mention anything, you can use it on any unit. And I always complain about Death Company Refusal to Die. I used it again. Stupidly, I used it again, and again the whole squad of Death Company died. As always happens every time I forget that it's a bad strat and try and use it. Well, now we could just go Armor of Contempt the Death Company. We'll just reduce the AP by 1. That sounds much better than Refusal to Die, which literally never helps me anyway, right? I know some people might have had the odd game where they got some value out of Refusal to Die. I have honestly used that stratagem like 20 times, and I've never had value out of it. I don't, like maybe one time it'll save me like 1 wound, and then the very next unit wipes the Death Company anyway, so there was no value in it. That's my experience with Refusal to Die. It's generally very bad, and I'm generally very bitter about that. We have to remember that Dante is only a regular Astartes. He is not. How dare you, dirty wizard. He is the regent of Imperial Nihilus. He's the oldest... I mean, he's a tactical genius, I guess. But yes, I suppose his body is a regular Space Marine. I was a little bit sad that Dante's... Although he didn't get a 3 damage axe, he also didn't get any additional strength on his weapon either, which I think Azrael got both. So... I just hope that maybe they're going to give Dante a bit more of a proper looking at... If the reaction to Dante on the Warhammer website is anything to go by, like their Facebook page, there was a lot of pissed off Blood Angels players on their Facebook page. Like, a lot of people were saying that, like, while the pistol upgrade is nice, a lot of people would have preferred the axe to be better because we're a melee chapter, so you want your melee combat to be better, right? I was annoyed that you didn't get the sweep. That's what I was hoping for, because I think a sweep attack on Dante would have been sick. I could have probably lived with him still having a 2 damage axe if he'd had a sweep attack. Halbrecht has a sweep attack and he's sick. Just gives you a lot of flexibility on when you're fighting into like toughness 1, 1 wound in enemy infantry. It just suddenly makes them kind of like a really flexible, useful choice. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. 10th's going to change everything. I wouldn't get too upset with Dante's rules right now. 10th will change it all. Death Company should have a fight on death strat. I mean, I guess we'll see if Marines in general are going to get a fight on death strat, right? Like, they've said that we're only getting like 6 stratagems. Right? I think they said like each detachment is getting about 6 stratagems. So that's not a whole lot of stratagems if one of them is fight on death. I suppose, because there's been a lot of talk about people saying that they're worried that like some of the Marine identity, or sort of like the Marine / chapter identity will be gone as well. So I guess that's a real question to ask. Again, I don't have the answers, but I am going to cover everything that's coming up. Every Friday for as long as Games Workshop keep putting out 10th edition teasers and information, I'll cover it. It'll all be covered on the channel, so when 10th edition comes out, we can all hit the ground running. Nick, thank you so much for subscribing, I appreciate it. A bit more effort from Games Workshop would have been appreciated. It sure would have been, Highlands Phoenix. I guess I can agree with you on that. Alright, I'm just going to put some micro sol over all these transfers very quickly. The advantage of streaming is that I have massive lights on in this room so that you guys can see me painting reasonably well. So it means that anything that needs to dry, like these transfers, will dry out super fast. Hopefully, I got really lucky when I finished my Terrax, because like the very next day was like a really low humidity day. And I always varnish my models when it's low humidity, just because I guess it works better if it's low humidity. So fingers crossed I can get like another very low humidity day. Maybe this weekend would be nice. Get the Gladiator marked off as another complete unit before 10th edition, right? It is a generic release, you're right, Chris, with codexes to come later, but they haven't quite said how much bump is going to be in the codex, and they've never, you know, like this is the first time, or this is the first edition where they've said like, what was it they said? They said that like there's only going to be 6 stratagems per detachment. So I assume that even if they added a codex, even if Blood Angels get a codex, maybe what we'll get is like, we'll get 3 different Blood Angels attachments. Maybe Blood Angels, Flesh Tearers, and I don't know, the Knights of Blood or something. I think the Knights of Blood actually got wiped out at Devastation of Baal, but regardless, Angels in Carmine or something. And each of the 3 chapters will have a data sheet, or 6 strats to pick from, right? I hope the Blood Angels are not too generic, says Braden. I think everybody's hoping that, Braden. I think Blood Angels are a big enough faction where they won't make us too generic. I think. I hope. I guess I'm hoping with you. I really think they're not going to make us too generic. I remember there was a survey Games Workshop did, like, it must have been at the within the first year or two of 9th edition, because I actually used to own 4 40k armies. I had Imperial Guard, I had Eldari, I had Orcs, and I had Blood Angels. And I was basically at a point in my life where I didn't have time to do 4 armies. And me and my wife were trying to have kids. We were trying to have kids for a long time, and I was figuring out, like, once I have, like, I don't even have enough time for 4 armies without kids. So as soon as I have kids, there's no way I can handle like having 4 armies. So what am I going to do? So I basically gave away, well, I say gave away, I traded with a few people. Like, I traded all my orc, like Brett's an orcs player, I gave him every single orc I had, and he gave me every single space marine he had. I gave Kev all the Eldari I had, I gave Andrew all the Imperial Guard I had. And like, they all like reciprocated and gave me some models back, but like, I could have randomly picked any of those other 3 armies, right? Because they like, I had all 4. but I picked to keep the Marines, I guess. And then like after I did that, 6 months later, I guess I started the Blood Angels Commander channel, and then 6 months later, Games Workshop put out this survey to say like, tell us what chapters or what armies you play in Warhammer 40k. And Blood Angels were actually like the biggest. In that survey, we were the biggest Space Marine faction. We were actually bigger than Ultramarines. It was close. I mean, Ultramarines are in all the box art. They're the poster boys, and they were like a percentage point or two behind Blood Angels. So at that point, it was like, oh my god, Blood Angels are actually the biggest faction out of all of 40k. And like I just randomly picked it. Like there was a 1 in 4 chance. I mean, I always did like the Blood Angels more, and they were like my first army. I could have easily picked one of the other 3 armies that I mentioned there, and then I'd be sat here as the Orc Commander or something. But yeah, strange how that happened. That I picked one, and then it was like in the survey, it was like, oh, you picked the biggest, and I just picked it randomly. So that's why I think that they won't take away too much identity from Blood Angels, because if we're arguably one of the biggest factions in the entire game, right? Because like Marines and that dwarf all the Xenos races and stuff, because Marines are everybody's first army kinda, and you know, I guess if you ask people, a lot of people just like Marines. I guess that's why I picked them. So if Blood Angels are literally one of the biggest like that, I can't see them doing something that's gonna like really make people, because there's been a few comments this week like, you know, hey, we're gonna be red Ultramarines. I can't see it happening. I think that Blood Angels are too big. They're not gonna want to make like alienate people and make them feel like they are red Ultramarines, for lack of a better name or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not worried about it. Do you think we'll get Wings of Fire back? I would love Wings of Fire back, and none of this bullshit where you have to come back down in a following turn. Just Wings of Fire in the same turn. We're the friggin' Blood Angels. That's one of the things that we do. What was the Wings of Fire and Descent of the Angels? I think you could play both. So you could redeploy in the same turn, and then you could re-roll, or you could roll your charges on 3d6 that turn. I think it cost you 2 or 3 CP to do that, but so like you might not be able to do that every turn of every game, but like if you really needed a charge to happen somewhere on the board, then it was a viable option. I like Descent of the Angels in that. Are you ready for Dante versus Abaddon? I mean, Dante's going to kick Abaddon's ass, dude. He's going to play the stratagem. I don't know if you remember it. It's a Blood Angel strat that doesn't get played very often. It's called Vengeance for Sanguinius, and it grants full rerolls, both hits and wounds, into the Black Legion, and it only costs 1 CP. So Dante's going to use that extra CP that he gets for being the Warlord to use that strat, and he's going to just destroy Abaddon. Actually, Abaddon's wound capped though, right? So I guess he's not going to kill him that quickly. But this is why we needed the Axe Mortalis to actually do some mortal wounds or ignore wound caps or something. That would have been nice. It's probably going to be Rapid Ingress. Rapid Ingress is a cool strat, and I don't know if people realised that Rapid will let you deep strike. It's not just Terminators that can play Rapid Ingress, right? Sangre Guard can play Rapid Ingress. Death Company can play Rapid Ingress. At least that's my understanding of the strat. If the picture they shared is the full strat, then there's no reason that Death Company and Sangre Guard can't be rapidly deployed via Rapid Ingress. It'll just cost 1 CP, but I think it's going to open up whole new levels of opportunities, right? Terminators get it for free. Terminators only get it for free if you come in within 3 inches of the beacon, which is actually kind of restrictive, right? I suppose you could daisy chain the Terminators from the beacon to a certain degree, but it is also a little bit restrictive. The interesting thing, the thing that I thought was, if Terminators get it for free near the beacon, right? You should just place the beacons on the objectives. Like the objectives in No Man's Land. So if the opponent goes first, They move, right? You go second. You move. You don't need to be on like, assuming that the opponent can't get onto those points or whatnot. You don't need to put anything on those points. You could put a beacon on like each point, for example, and then whichever point they don't get onto in their movement phase on turn 2, you could instantly just appear. Maybe they can't shoot you because you appear obscured, because you appear after they've moved all their models, so you put your guys somewhere that's obscured, and then basically at the start of your turn 2, when the first time you would score primary, well, you would hold that objective now, right? So like, it could actually be a pretty neat little scoring trick you could use rapid ingress for, I think. At least if I'm fully understanding how it works, which I think I am, right? Am I attending Warhammer Fest, says Gareth? Not this year. I kind of wanted to. I kind of debated just driving down for the day. It's a long ass drive though. Probably like 8 or 10 hours for me. Future year for sure. This year, no. I've been to Warhammer Fest. I think I was last there in 2019. I think it was the year before COVID, because I guess probably during COVID it didn't happen, right? For like 2 years maybe. I was there when it was, I think it was it Coventry? It was a football stadium in Coventry, I think, was the year I was there. But no, not this year, I'm afraid. Unless you have 10 plus on the objective on order to score the points. No, I don't think you're going to have to need 10 plus on the objective to score the points. You're just going to need more than the enemy. So I think like the days of a small troop unit obsecing an objective from an elite unit is kind of gone. You're going to maybe want some troops on the objective, right, to like bump up your OC value. But like, you probably just can't hold an objective anymore with like 5 troop models and go, haha, I am 10 OC, because the second the elite unit gets on there, they'll kill 3 of the troops, then you only have OC of 4, and they've still got their whole squad of 5 elites because they just killed, 3 of your regular marines. And so I think that the OC change is kind of huge. It's going to change a lot of the game, I guess. I think it's going to be for the better. You can drive 8 hours without running out of road in Scotland. No, it would take me like maybe 4.5 to hit the border, but then Games Workshop is, well, I actually don't know where Warhammer Fest is this year. I think they said it was Manchester, but regardless, if it's close to Games Workshop, then it's at least, like, when you hit the border in Scotland, you're an hour till Carlisle, which is like the first big city in England. And then if you want to hit like Manchester or that, you're like another hour and a half maybe. So I think it would be like 4.5 hours to get out of Scotland, and then 2.5 hours. The advantage is once you get out of Scotland, the roads finally go to 3 lanes, because the roads in Scotland are only 2 lanes. So it does get a lot easier to drive once you leave Scotland. Us and our tiny little population, I guess. We only need 2 lanes of traffic each way. It's in Manchester, yeah. So Glasgow to Manchester, or Carlisle to Manchester, is like 2 hours, I would think. I'll tell you. Manchester to Elgin. It says on Google Maps it would be 389 miles. So 6 hours 59 minutes, and that's assuming no traffic and no breaks. But yeah, maybe like Glasgow to Manchester, it must be like 3.5, is it? Glasgow to Manchester, 3 hours 45. Yeah, So it's about, from where I am, it's about 3.5 to Glasgow, and then I guess it would be another 3.5, 4 hours to Games Workshop. I've done it before in a oneer, and I've done it before, well, I say a oneer, I've done it before in like a morning and an afternoon, and I've done it before with my... I was going to say, how old was Michael? He wouldn't have been 1. So I've done it with like a 9-month-old baby and a 2-year-old baby in the back of the car as well. My 2-year-old was amazingly behaved that day. I don't know how she managed it, because she just had to sit in the back of the car for like 8 or 9 hours, and like she can't watch television back there or anything, because if she does, she'll get travel sick or motion sick. She did. We must have listened to the same CDs and stuff a million times. She must have been bored shitless, but she was really well behaved that day, actually. But yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realms of possibility in another year or something. I could just drive down, grab a hotel or a B&B for the night, and then go to Warhammer Fest for like 1 day, and then come back. I think you can probably see most of the stuff at Warhammer Fest in 1 day. Last time I went for 2 days, but like, I think if you're going for more than 1 day, you're mainly going to attend panels and that, right? Like if you're just going to do the shop floor and look at everything that's there and look at the painted models, I feel like you can definitely do that in 1 day. Evening Sellers, how you doing? The train Glasgow to Manchester is listed at 7.15 hours. Well, it's definitely not. It's probably listed like that right now because it'll be saying you can get a little bit of the way and then you've got to go to sleep and you've got to get up in the morning. Glasgow to Manchester on train, I would say, if you can drive it in 3 hours 45, you can probably train it at least in that, if not quicker. Where are you from, Serenade? Sometimes if you put the trains into Google Maps late in the evening, it'll make you stop at a station like overnight until the morning train runs again. That's probably what's happened. Takes about 2 hours by train. Yeah, I mean the trains are generally faster than driving, right? Oh no, yeah, I mean, I think Glasgow to Manchester probably actually has no stops. Like you can probably get a direct train. It probably just the time of night that Google will be making you wait in a station like 5 hours or something because it's midnight. Yeah, and they'll be getting you back on the train first thing in the morning, I would assume. It probably takes like 10 or 12 hours to drive from the very north of the UK to the very south. Would probably be like 10 or 12 hours driving, I guess. Probably closer to 12 actually. Because the roads get really, like the roads where I am in Scotland are like I'm so far north where the roads start to sort of get pretty, well, like, you know, it's just one lane, one way, like one car, one lane going north, one lane going south. So if you get stuck behind someone that's doing like 30, there is no place that's like, unless you know the road really well, it can be very difficult to get past them because there's no like there might be like an overtaking lane every 10 miles or something, so you could get stuck behind someone doing like half the speed limit for 10 miles, or you get stuck behind like a tractor because there's a lot of farmland. Again, the tractors will be, you know, if there's a tractor, sometimes the queues can get fucking crazy. Like, you're talking like a giant traffic jam for like miles just because there's a tractor going along the road at like 30 miles an hour. Alright, I think I can put a transfer or something on this, and I think I'm calling the turret done. Just about, anyway. Ironic that it takes longer to cross 50 miles in Scotland as it compared to driving down south. Why? Because it's just the roads, Campbell. They're just not designed to. And we were supposed to be getting one of the main roads was supposed to be getting extra lanes put in it, and then because of like global warming and in Scotland, the Green Party have some seats and they're actually in government, which is good, right? Because like in a lot of places in the world, people don't give a shit about like being whatever you want to call it, being green and protecting the planet or whatnot. Like I actually voted for the Greens in the last round of elections because I do care about the future of the planet and stuff. So in the Scotland, we have the Green Party in, which is good for the planet, but like anytime you want to add infrastructure, you know, like we want to build more roads, the Green Party's like, do we really need those roads? You know, it destroys a lot of landscape. So it's like a fucking double-edged sword here in Scotland. You don't want to be cut off for everything, but you do want to vote green, but then you don't want to vote green because if you vote green, they'll be like, well, let's just debate if we need this extra lane on this motorway because that's like damaging the environment. It's like, okay, great. But I mean, it's still good to vote green, I guess. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? If you call the road up to Inverness a motorway, you're being generous. No, I wouldn't call any road that is one car one way and one car the other way a motorway. Like, you need to be at least 2 lanes both directions to be a motorway, I think. But they do class some of those roads as M-class roads because they are the most... I actually don't think they class them as M-class roads, they class them as A. So they sort of fool you. They say like it's an A-class road, which means it's a good road, but it's still just one car one way, one car the other way. So if you ever drive up to Scotland, you'll just suddenly you're suddenly on a road where it's just one car both way, and you're looking at your map going, this is down as an A-class road, which typically means like, you know, the best road in the area, and you're like, yep, one lane one way, one lane the other way. Hopefully you don't get stuck behind anyone doing 40 for like 10 miles or get ready for some road rage, right? Cool. What's the time? 10 to 11. Okay. So I'm going to be here for just 10-15 more minutes. I actually have like quite a lot of stuff going on tomorrow, so I'm going to be staying up too late. One of the things I actually have to do tomorrow is drive that fucking 70 miles on that road, one lane, one way, and then 70 miles back, so yeah. The joys. At least, like, up until like a few years ago, the internet up here was really, really terrible as well. Like, we had no fiber internet, so now we have all that fiber internet and good stuff. So Scotland is slowly joining the civilized world, I'd say, on that side of things. Slowly. Dirty Wizards have come to Elgin for the summer. Are you really? Very cool. Where are you based, Dirty Wizard? Let me know when you're coming and we can figure out a way to get a pint. I don't have many. I don't typically go out for a beer very often, but I'm sure I'd be able to wangle the odd one. Liverpool. Okay, so you got a fair drive then to get all the way up here. That must be a good 10 hours. I once spent 13 hours on a bus from Suffolk to the coast near the Isle of Arran. You can get the bus from where I am to Glasgow, the mega bus, for like 5 hours. Sorry, for like £5. Like the mega bus is crazy cheap, but like I don't know if I could be stuck on a bus for like 6 hours, man. I feel like buses here are very like, they're not claustrophobic, but like you get like no leg room. Like the trains, you get a lot more leg room in the train, and I guess if you're stuck on the train for a long period of time, at least you can get up and stretch your legs and stuff. I suppose you could get up a little bit on the bus and stretch your legs, but on the train you can actually like physically walk about a bit and stuff. I don't know if I could handle being on a bus for... I know that they do the mega bus to London as well, from the north of Scotland. But the bus must take like 20 hours. Like I can't imagine sitting on a bus for 20 hours. I don't know if I could do it. Alright, I think I'm going to put like one transfer on the turret, like right up the front, right on this bit here. And I think that's the only transfer I'm going to put on the turret. And then I guess at that point I'm just touching up some transfers and the Gladiator Reaper is done. Yay, finally, right? I'm driving to Aberdeen tomorrow, which is like 70-ish miles, and then I'll have to drive back in the evening, so... Speed painting? No. I mean, I do have the guy I speed painted, though, here. This was my speed painting effort for this was a 90-minute job. I thought he looked okay for 90 minutes. Obviously he's not based. There's definitely work that could be done on him. Normally I probably, like I said on the stream when I did it, that normally it would take me like 6 hours to paint an intercessor, so for 90 minutes I think that was an okay job. Yeah, nothing is close up here, I guess. Aberdeen seagulls are as big as dogs. I heard a story that a seagull picked up actually swooped down, picked up a dog, and then flew up in there, like I guess trying to eat the dog or whatever, and it dropped it from like, I don't know, 30 meters up, and it killed the dog. That's how much of a hassle the seagulls are becoming now. They're becoming big enough where I think it was a chihuahua, and like killed the chihuahua by like dropping it from like a fair height, because obviously the dog was like squirming because the seagulls just like picked it up in its beak. But the seagulls here are becoming a real pest, but they're protected, so like they don't do anything about it, but they're notoriously bad birds, and they attack the other birds as well, right? But it's like an ancient law that they're protected from. It's like a 1971 law where it was like these birds have to be protected, but now they've sort of become like a complete menace to society, and there's heaps of them, and like nothing gets done about them. They tried to install lasers. Get this, like not like lasers that would like damage you, but like lasers that would like mess with their vision. So they tried to install like lasers in the middle of the town, like on the top of all the buildings, to like try and make them like not nest on all the buildings. which worked for like 5 minutes, and then the second they like removed all the lasers, they just all came back. So it was like, well, that was a waste of money. Birds are not real, they're just government spy drones, says Jason Trump. I mean, okay. Never heard that one before, but that genuinely made me laugh. Alright, I think I'm going to put this one little transfer on here, and then I'm going to call it a night. I think that's me done. I don't want to be tired for driving home tomorrow night. Dirty Wizard says my brother's wife is based at RAF Lossiemouth. That's funny, the only reason I have good internet, Dirty Wizard, is because my house is near RAF Lossiemouth. And because I'm like near enough to RAF Lossiemouth, then I get on like crazy fibre, because it's like the military... RAF Lossiemouth is like the Ministry of Defence, right? So the Ministry of Defence apparently need like really good / fast internet. So by having a house near RAF Lossiemouth, I get good internet. But that's literally the only reason that I've got good internet, apparently, because we're near there. So that's funny. Small world, I guess. Yeah, that one would fit in there, perfect. That's what we're doing. Gulder Crazy, I saw one run off with one in its mouth. Evening, Steve West, how are you? You haven't heard about birds that aren't real? Look it up sometime. No, I have not heard about that, Braden, I'm afraid. Seagulls are vermin. Seagulls are kind of like vermin because they eat... They eat dead things, right? Which is like what vermin do? Like like other birds won't eat dead things. Am I wrong in that? I might be. But yeah, seagulls are literally a nightmare. But our government isn't doing anything about them. They've been a nightmare for like 10 years. I guess the waters have been overfished, so they've come inland to terrorise us because we overfished the waters. Where's my microsol? Cool. I like documentaries and conspiracy things. If you've never, I recently watched the Flat Earth documentary on Netflix. It's called Behind the Curve. If you've never watched it, I mean, like, if you believe the Earth is flat, I guess cool. You. I think you're wrong. I mean, we're all entitled to their opinion, but watch their documentary because it's kind of funny. Someone had written, like, someone had vandalized, like, you know, so there was an organization, or there was like a flat Earth department or whatever it is set up here in the north of Scotland. So they were basically like doing vandalism. And they were writing like the Earth is flat everywhere, right? Like on like street signs and like walls, and along the edge of like the motorway, they were writing the Earth is flat. The only thing is, they couldn't spell Earth. You can't make this shit up, right? Can you? So they'd spell Earth ERTH. Like they just missed the A. So. So, like, I felt like if they got the police line up, they could just, like, quickly be like, alright, spell Earth. And, like, the one guy that can't spell Earth is obviously, like, the flat Earth guy that's been, like, doing all the vandalism. But, yeah, that's the fun that we have to look forward to in Scotland sometimes. I love the video where the flat Earth people set up the experiment and they proved the Earth is round. Yeah, exactly. Watch it. It's in that documentary. It's worth watching if you've never seen it. It's kind of funny, right? Come on, move transfer. Oh, this one's being difficult. It would be the last thing that I'm trying to do of the evening. It's always going to be difficult, isn't it? Move. There we go. So you're saying Scotland sounds rural? It is very... I mean, there's populated areas, but Scotland must have a landmass that's like... It's not quite half of England. It's probably like a third of England, the landmass of Scotland, right? But like... the population is like 5 or 6 million. The population of England is like 55 or 60 million. So we've got like a tenth of the landmass. Sorry, we've got like a third of the landmass, but like a tenth of the population. So yeah, it's probably quite. You're probably right. It probably feels very rural, like some of those American states that are quite sparse, I guess. I have limited experience in America. I've been to Chicago, New York, Florida, Seattle, and San Francisco. I don't know anywhere. I haven't been anywhere else in America. And when I was in Seattle and San Francisco, it was for work, so I didn't see all that much of the cities. I just saw conference halls or conference centers, whatever you call that. 2/3 of us live in a small region in America, and then it's to be fair, the Earth is not round, it's geoid shaped. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not round. It's not flat either, I suppose. The best one I've seen is the US Air Force took a flat Earth guy around in the stratosphere in a U-2 spy plane, and it was safe to say he was no longer a flat earther. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a stream all day, every day from the International Space Station. There's just the International Space Station orbiting Earth, and it's just a camera. It's a live stream, and you can tune in on it any day of the week, I believe. I believe they're just on. I think they've got a YouTube channel now. It could be wrong, but they might actually have a YouTube channel. Have I ever been to Canada? No, the closest I've ever been to Canada is Seattle, Braden, which I think is maybe like an hour and a half in Canada. I would like to go, but like I've got it's like I honestly don't know if I'll ever make enough money in my entire life to visit, like, you know, like if people are well enough off to like visit lots and lots of different countries and stuff, and they can afford it, then like great. But like regular human being with kids and a family now, it's gonna be hard. Like you're gonna have to just say, like, I guess you either have to either travel or you have a family. Like I don't know if you can do both. At least, I mean, some people can do both, not everybody, I guess. Scotland has the population of London, says Campbell. I mean, it's like I said, the Scottish population is like a tenth of England. If England have, I mean, we've probably got less population than New York City. Like we only have like 5.5 million in the whole country. I haven't checked the population of Scotland recently, but last time I checked, I'm sure it was like 5.5, something like that. Zach says my state is 3 times the size of the UK. So you're in a very rural place as well. Anton says he doesn't get why Azrael's sword got bumped and the Axe Mortalis stays at D3. Anton's asking the real questions here. Very good point, Anton. Good evening. I have no idea why the Axe Mortalis stayed at D3. I mean, even it should have done mortals in that it has mortal in the name. That would have worked for me too. It didn't have to do D3. It could have done mortals, or it could have had a swipe. That would have worked for me too. Like if it had a swipe, I would have been probably okay. I was quite excited when I saw Helbrecht had a swipe. I was like, oh shit! If Dante gets a swipe, I'm going to be including Dante on my list. That'll be really good. it is what it is, I guess. Nothing we can do about it now, right? Alright guys, I'm getting off in just a minute. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. It's been a fun stream. It's been a different stream. Probably going to do a painting stream on Saturday night. Probably going to do a painting stream next Wednesday because I'm just helping out my wife a little bit more with the kids for the next couple of weeks. So probably try and finish the Gladiator completely. Transfers are all on. Try and completely finish it on Saturday night. And then maybe do some Blade Guard or something. Thank you so much for the super chats tonight. There was a bunch of new members. We definitely smashed our goal for April membership. I appreciate that, guys. Really do appreciate it. I was going to say, yes, so next content on the channel is Friday. I've got a video, it's done, it's filmed. Just needs like the thumbnail done and the description done, which I'm going to do before I go to bed here. And that'll be out on neutral time on Friday. Stream on Saturday night doing painting. Armulus show as always on Sunday. Right, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because last week when I went to play Miles, like an hour before the game, when I said to my wife, I don't know if you remember, I'm out tonight, I'm going to go play Warhammer. She said to me, would Miles be upset if it was me playing against him? I was like, I don't think he would be upset. Why? And she was like, because I just don't want to be left here with the kids tonight. Do you mind if I go play Miles? And I was like, all right, well, I mean, Miles, so I sort of joked when I met Miles and I was like, my wife was saying that she wanted to come and play you tonight, and he was like, I would have played her. I was like, yeah, I know you would have, but she doesn't know any of the rules. She just wanted to come along and throw dice because she didn't want to have to spend the whole evening looking after the kids. I was like, alright, I'll take a couple of weeks break from playing live games, put my kids to bed, that sort of thing. Thanks, I definitely will drive safe. I'll see you guys all in the comment section on Friday. I'll see the rest of you on Saturday night for a live stream. Make sure you're doing your best to finish models, guys, because 10th edition is going to change everything. I don't know what's going to be good, but I bet you a lot of stuff that isn't good right now is going to be good. So get those models finished. Now is the time. You should get her to play, yeah, maybe one day. You know, once the kids don't need us looking after, or don't need eyes on them 24/7, yeah. I'd love to actually have her play. We used to play board games, like, you saw how many board games I got behind me, right? Like, we used to play board games all the time. I think we've played one board game since our first kid was born, which was like 3.5 years ago. That's why I don't kickstart board games anymore. As much as I like kickstarting board games, I've got a few behind me that we've never played, like 2 of which I got on Kickstarter, and I think I probably kickstarted them before we had kids, but you know, when you kickstarter them, they sometimes take a year to come. I've never actually played them because they took a year to come and then we had kids. So at some point when my kids are a bit older, we can get back into board games. Anton's painting 15 Desolation Marines right now. Good for you, Anton. Next time I have some time off work, I'm going to get my Desolation Marines built. I have a week off in August, and I'm actually going away for a week in August. So when I'm away, I might take my Desolation Marines and get them built while I'm away, because I'm sure I'll have time. And then it means I can start painting them on stream. Am I muted? I hope not, because otherwise I've been speaking to myself the whole evening, Corey. Hit the like button before you peace out, guys. Thanks for watching. Do think about following or subscribing. I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys. New tactics video coming out Friday. Enjoy your evening. Peace.